Recording in progress.
All right, guys, let's get started. So we have a huge audience today. So let me share my screen. Okay, I hope you guys are able to see my screen and able to hear me.
Yes.
All right. So let's get started. So today we have a mixed audience. There are many people who have already joined us and have completed the core Java training and now getting started with Selenium. And there are many people who are joining for the very first time for the automation session. So the next two sessions that we will be taking will be common for everyone. For the person who like he's starting from very beginning and knows don't know anything about automation or Selenium. So we're going to start everything from the scratch. And for the people who have already completed the Java part, it will be like a brush up session because we'll be discussing the latest architecture of Selenium 4, which we have not discussed in our any of the previous session because Selenium 4 is recently launched in the market. So in this batch, we are going to cover many topics from the latest Selenium 4 library as well. So let me get started from my introduction. I'm Rahul. I'll be taking your entire Selenium session, the automation part, framework designing, and the live projects. So as far as my experience is concerned, I'm having over 14 years of experience in software testing itself. I used to work as a test manager with one of the company in Gurgaon, NCR, and right now I'm completely into trainings. I own this way to automation platform where there are other instructors as well associated with me who are actually delivering automation trainings related to different automation tools like API testing, Selenium, Python, JMeter performance testing, manual database testing, and other automation courses are as well there. So I'm the one who will be taking your Selenium classes only. Rest, there's a whole big video library. If you take a look over here, along with the live training, you're also gonna get lifetime access to this complete video library. So these like 90% of the video library that you see over here is designed by me only. So many courses like Selenium, Python, Protractor, Cypress, Serenity framework. So these are related to automation, various automation tools itself, and it's a demand in industry. So what all tools which are very happening are in demand. So I generally try to create a video library for it, and like other instructors, they try to provide the live trainings for these courses as well. So you're gonna get complete lifetime access to this video library. Whichever course you want to watch, you have lifetime access. You can watch it a number of times you want, along with the live training sessions that you'll be getting. Right. So before we get started, let me take a quick background of you guys. I hope majorly of you are from the testing background itself. Anyone from development? So you have a chat box with you in case you want to you want to answer any questions. You can type it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself as well. So I really want to make this session very interactive. So it's like it's going to be a 2 hour session. So it's not like for the complete 2 hours I'll be talking only. So I really want you to feel it like a classroom session, although we are doing it online. But in some time you're gonna feel like that you are actually doing a classroom session itself, because this is how interactive we will be making these sessions. Okay, so Sachin is saying neither testing nor development. Okay, you're from the support part, application support. Okay, how about others? Mm-hmm. Sangeeta testing, manual testing, Rajshri, Sunil testing. Okay, QA testing. Okay, that's great. That's great. So I can see, yeah, a lot of people over here from testing background. Okay, 14 years of experience in manual testing. That's great. Okay, that's great, Navid. All right, so that's pretty much good. Okay, and anyone worked on automation prior to like our today's session? Anyone worked on Selenium or any other automation tool? Anyone worked on Selenium? Okay, that's great. Worked a bit on UFT. That's great. Okay, so some are already familiar with automation, have some knowledge on Selenium. That's great. Having a little bit knowledge, that's great. Okay, okay, great. So yeah, it's great to see all you answering. And yes, like if we talk about these sessions, although we are going to start from very scratch, I know most of you must be familiar with what exactly Selenium is and how to get started with Selenium. But since there are many people who are very new to automation, so we're gonna start from scratch, from the ABC of it, and like after one or two sessions, we're gonna take very good level of topics as well. And as I've said, that we'll be covering latest Selenium 4. So I hope that most of you who have already worked on Selenium must be using Selenium 3, might not have started using the latest features of Selenium 4. So those are some of the things which we are going to cover in these sessions. So we'll be covering the complete architecture. We'll see the difference in the I've prepared a documentation as well, so which tells the difference in like the different versions of Selenium 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll be going through these architecture design as well. So what's there in Selenium 4, why it is better from the previous Selenium versions, right? The future, the scope of Selenium. So all these things we are going to discuss in these sessions. So I've also prepared the latest content as in the syllabus of Selenium 4 with core Java. So here are some of the topics that we are going to cover. Like I said, we'll be discussing the architecture of all these versions. Then we'll be picking up how to get started with Selenium 4. We'll be doing the complete core Java basic part as well. Then we'll be looking at some of the new features which you may have heard about, like relative locators, and then like doing minimizing and maximizing, full screen. We're gonna see some updation that's been done in the Action API, how you can open up a new tab, a new window, right? Handling basic authentication. Then there's a huge list of topics of WebDriver, which we are going to cover from scratch. Then there's a very like interesting functionality that Selenium 4 came up with, which is like the support of the CDP feature, that is the Chrome Dev Protocol feature. So we are going to look at those features as well. Then there are a couple of integrations we'll be doing, like we'll be learning the end-to-end test ng framework. We'll be working with different integrations like extend reports, JDBC, POI API for Excel reading, log4j, Java Mail API, and number of topics. And we are also going to introduce Dockers as well, because the latest Selenium Grid 4 has got some of the components that supports Dockers. Now what Docker is, it will be clear to you in some time once we get started with the course. And then we'll be covering two live projects. So first we'll be designing a data driven framework using data plus keyword driven approach, that is the hybrid approach. And the second framework will be working on page object model and page factories. So framework designing, we're going to start from scratch, and like we'll be picking up live websites where we'll be writing test cases and merging that in these live projects. So these are the things that we are going to cover, and it will going to take at least 3 months of the time to cover all these topics. So classes will be like over the weekends itself, like Saturday, Sunday. We're gonna do at the same time, 2 hours each. The session will be there. right? So yeah, I'll be sharing this content to your email IDs after the session, and along with that, we're gonna record all live sessions, so you'll be getting the recordings from each session as well. So recordings will also be uploaded to this portal, so that once you get your login credentials, you can log in, and then you can go to this particular section and you can watch the recordings from that particular batch as well. So these are some of the things that will be there. So Sangeeta is asking, do we need to know Java beforehand? See, Java is very important. Without Java, you cannot work on Selenium. So, but you need not to worry about it, because in the training we are going to start from the Java part itself. Not in these first two sessions. These first two sessions we are not going to cover any programming part. We're not going to deal with any programming, very high level concepts. We're not going to do that. These first two sessions are only introductory session to make yourself familiar with what exactly Selenium is and how you will be working on Selenium, what all integrations that are required. So these are the things that we are going to cover in these two sessions. After the two sessions, you will be moving to the core Java part. People who have joined new will be joining the core Java sessions first, and then once you studied the complete core Java, you're gonna come back to the Selenium sessions. For the people who have already studied Java, completed their Java training, they will be learning Selenium from the next weekend in the same batch. Right, so people who already know Java, who are already familiar with the Java concepts, can even skip the Java training part and attend the Selenium sessions as well. Right, but the person who is very new to programming, I would recommend first learn Java. Right, first start from the Java basic concepts which we are starting from the next weekend, and then come to the Selenium part. Right, so these are some of the videos from the previous batches that you can even refer during the weekdays, and you can practice along with it. Right, so we'll be forming up a WhatsApp group for this batch, so all the students will be added in that WhatsApp group. What all questions, queries you have during the weekdays, if you are doing practice on any stuff and you get stuck anywhere, you can post your questions, queries in the WhatsApp group as well, or even you can directly email it to me. And in case you're facing any issues related to the configuration part, then you can come online, you can share your screen via TeamViewer. I can take a remote of your machine and I can assist you in your queries as well. So these are the things, yeah, so that you'll not feel like that you're taking an online session, right? So we're gonna do it like the same way as we do it in a classroom session. All right, so before we get started with Selenium, any more questions, queries, doubts you want to clarify before we get started with the training? Anything that you want to ask? Yeah. Yeah, sure, Anil. Yeah, please. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. See, I would not say that like in the beginning that like I'm the best and I'm going to teach you one of the best framework. But as far as the framework designing is concerned, I'm not going to pick up any project or a framework which is already built and then gonna explain you that framework. We'll be designing each and every piece of framework, the code that is written in the framework from scratch. And not only this, I mean, if you have gone through my website, this is one of the unique course that I have created, which is I'll open up it over here. So this is something. There's a unique course which is called as Automation Architect. Just let me show it to you. These are the 7 live projects. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in order to get yourself familiar with these 7 frameworks. You should be good in the initial automation frameworks, which we are going to discuss in the live sessions. So in the live session, as I said, we'll be covering 2 live projects. We'll be covering all the various utilities that I've used in this automation architect. I've already covered all these. I'm going to cover all these things in the live training sessions as well. So once you done with the complete training, then you can follow these 7 live projects. So these are like 7 very high level frameworks which are covered using the various design patterns that industry works on. So I have tried to covered each and everything as best as I can, so that once you go through these 7 projects, you should be able to face interviews very easily and should be able to utilize these frameworks in your own project as well. So that is the sort of learning that you'll be getting. In addition to this, I am launching a new course most probably next month. You'll see a whole big video library on Selenium 4, which is having an integration with Docker, AWS, and all those stuff as well, the cloud platform, which I'm going to launch it very soon, most probably by December. That course will be there. So that will be like a third level of the course of Selenium. So first level is what we are going to cover in the live sessions. This you can take it as a second level, and that will be the third level. So if you go through all these things, then there is nothing that you'll not be able to understand or work on the Selenium part. Absolutely, I'll do that. Thank you. All right, sure. All right, guys. Any more questions before we get started? Okay, Shashikant is asking that after completing this, can I justify at least 4 years of experience? See, it completely depends on you. After this course, you can justify 2 3 years of experience, but Selenium is not the only stuff that is being asked in interviews these days. In case you are planning to move yourself to automation, Selenium is your base. So Selenium is the first thing that you should learn. But these days, I mean, if you talk about Selenium, Selenium automates only the UI part. UI as in Selenium is only for website testing. But these days, companies, they have their mobile applications as well, they have their APIs as well, and there are various automation tools which are similar to Selenium. I mean, in case you know Selenium, you can automate mobile applications as well by integrating APM. You can automate APIs, web services as well by learning REST assured. And we have a separate course, a dedicated course on API automation as well, where we'll be learning Postman for the manual testing part, and then REST assured API, and then we'll be designing the same frameworks that we have seen in Selenium. So all the same approach is going to work in API testing as well, and you can build up one framework that supports your UI part, your mobile part, as well as the API part. So we have the dedicated course for API testing, which is somewhere around 2 months, which is going to start from first week of December. And the best part is that you need not to again enroll for that particular course, because when you will be joining the Selenium part, you will automatically gonna be added in the lifetime membership package, and you can attend all the trainings for free for lifetime. So this is something like a unique concept that we came up with, and we are getting a very good response on it, because it's something like there are 7 to 8 instructors who are taking different batches. Every time a new batch is formed, we will be paying to the instructor, but you will be joining all future trainings for free. So that's what the lifetime membership is. In case someone is new and want to see more about the lifetime membership, you can visit waytoautomation.com, and you can click on this menu, and here you can see the details of what all trainings that we are covering and what all things that you'll be getting in this lifetime membership. All right. Any more? Yeah. Yeah, Rahul, I have a question. I think it regards to a little bit on a career choice. But that's my concern at this point of time. I started with Java in September, and we have completed Java in your batch. Now that I have got a job as a Java developer, actually, because I learned Spring Framework parallel. Okay.
Now I'm because initially I started to learn automation and then find out the career opportunity in automation. Now
Hmm.
that I have got a job as a Java developer with all these new age frameworks, and I'm little confused whether to pursue the development path or to learn automation and pursue automation track.
Hmm.
I wanted to know which one would be where I could get more CTC actually because that's the end criteria for me.
See, if I talk about the current industry, I've seen many developers. Not if I talk about Selenium, it's not only like QA who moves into automation. I've seen
Mhm.
many developers as well. They move themselves into automation or DevOps part as well, right? So this is because if you talk about the packages, like if you are having around 2 3 4 years of experience, your package is somewhere equivalent to what a developer is getting, and the complexity as compared to the development part is less in automation, right? The fight that we have in development, like if we have a build, if we have a release, we have to stretch for like 14 hours 15 hours. In automation, there is nothing like that. The environment is very cool. It's not like that if some release has to go to the production today, then you have to sit and do the automation testing as well, right? So this is something like a very cool environment you're going to get in automation. But again, it's your choice. In automation as well, the roadmap is very huge, right? As compared to development, if I talk about a 4 years of a Java developer and a 4 years of a automation engineer, with a experience in various automation tools, so 4 years of a development experience is also considered as it's like a fresher in the industry, right? Because the market, there is so much crowd in development. But if we talk about automation, specifically Selenium and the tools which are related to Selenium, or the same technology like Selenium, API, mobile automation, if you pick this platform, then again, it's a huge platform, right? And you're not going to find this much fight or this much crowd over here as well. Although Selenium is quite old in the industry, there are a lot of people who have a very sound knowledge in Selenium, but still the scope is very wide in automation.
Yeah, true. I do feel the development is quite limited if we have so many frameworks which does most of the job and just have to focus on the business logic part. So I feel that very less to learn actually in development except the industry domain or the industry knowledge. Within
Absolutely.
automation, I think there's a lot to learn actually.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Rob.
Sure. Okay, so Abhijit is asking how this course help in understanding an already written framework for the project we are joining in real time. See, it may happen that, I mean, after doing this course, once you practice around good in automation, and if you crack an interview, it may happen that you might land up in a company where the framework is already there, right? The framework is already in place, the team is already working, they already have automation in their organization. You are not joining a pilot batch, right? So in that case, the company will be responsible for giving you the KT, that is the knowledge transfer on that framework. They're not going to expect that you just pick up the code and start understanding the entire code on your own and start automating, start writing the automation scripts. It's not going to happen in that way. But they also are not going to expect that you don't know anything about the framework, right? If you are planning to justify 2 3 years of your experience in automation, then they know that yes, you know what a framework is, what an automation framework is, what the design patterns are, what is page objects, what is cucumber vdd. You must be familiar with all these things, and you have practically worked on all these things. So they are not going to teach you the framework part. They are going to give you a knowledge transfer of what they have created, where they have created different utilities for maintaining logs, for capturing screenshot, for keywords, for Excel reading. They're gonna just give you KT for what all bits of piece of code that they have kept in which package, and you just need to like when you want to design a test case or design a page objects, you need to call it them from that particular package. So that's what KT they're gonna give it. Yeah, most probably 3 4 days of KT or a week KT, depending on the project that you are going to join. Right? Okay. Any more questions so that we can start? I know these terms could be a little heavy for a person who has recently joined, who don't know anything about automation. But don't worry about it. Once we start, we're gonna start from scratch. Okay, so let's get started with the Selenium part. So, what exactly is Selenium? The very first question. What exactly is Selenium? Anything and everything that you know about Selenium, just let me know. What is Selenium? Tell me, guys. It's an API. It's an API. Great. Automate the web browsers. Set of libraries to help us to automate web applications. Great. So I can say it's an automation tool, not a tool, collection of APIs. You're saying collection of jars or set of Java library for web based application testing only. So it's an automation tool, or you can also call it as a framework or an API for web-based application testing only. Selenium is only for web-based. Selenium can automate anything that you see on a browser. Browser as in your website, right? You can navigate to any website, and you can, these days majorly we have web based applications, right? There was a time when we install application via some exe file, right? But 90% of the application these days are web based, because client can access that application, that software, from any part of the world. It's not like client has to install that software on his desktop, then only he can play around that software. He can access it from any part of the world. So majorly we have web based applications these days. That is the reason Selenium is very popular, because Selenium can automate any website easily, right? But only web based applications, not any other application. What other types of application we have apart from web based? We have desktop application, desktop based. We have mobile applications. Windows desktop are same. Mainframe, or we can say database applications, API, right? So these are the major. We have web-based application, desktop application, mobile application, database applications, and APIs, where we generally perform testing, manual testing as well as automation both, right? We do manual testing on mobile applications as well. We do manual testing on APIs as well, web-based application. We have automation tools as well available. For web-based, we know the very popular tool is Selenium. Anything apart from Selenium you heard for web-based? UFT, Cypress, okay, robot framework, QTP, UFT is one of the same thing. Catalan. See, most of the term that we are talking about over here, Catalan, robot framework, these things are originated from Selenium itself. So most are the wrapper over the Selenium API. Cypress is very recently built. It's not I cannot say that, I mean, it's a wrapper over Selenium. But if you know Selenium, Cypress is very easy for you. Protractor is again a wrapper over Selenium JavaScript library. But Protractor is about to end soon. In 2022, they are going to deprecate Protractor. Right? So a lot of tools are there, but Selenium is very popular in web-based applications. Same way, if I talk about desktop application, any tool for desktop? UFT, QTP, correct? Right, which is one of the most popular. We have RFT, we have other tools as well, but Seculi is there. That's an open source tool, right? But UFT is very popular in desktop based application testing. Same way, if I talk about mobile, any automation tool, say APM. So a lot of you know
APM,
that for mobile we have a most popular automation tool, that is APM.
APM robot, Selenium,
Robotium, Selendroid. Selendroid is gone now. Okay, database, we have SQL, MySQL, MongoDB, and number of databases where we can write queries, we can perform testing on it, right? Then for API, we have REST assured, we have Postman,
Postman,
right? We have SOAP
Chai,
UI,
Chai also.
right? Chai is you're talking about the Chai library. So Chai is it's a JavaScript assertion library. So I'm not sure. I mean, if we can do API testing as well with that. Okay, so but yeah, rest assured, Postman, SOAP UI, these are very popular in API testing, right? And these are the areas where we generally perform manual testing or automation testing. Any area apart from this where you have performed testing, the functional testing basically. Non-functional, again, we have n number of tools available, but for functional, we have these tools available in the market, in which Selenium only automate web apps. So if Selenium automate just the web application, why Selenium is very popular? Why we learn Selenium in the beginning when we want to enter into the automation? Or even if you search for any opening these days in manual testing or automation testing, Selenium is like a prerequisite that you should know Selenium. Why it is like that? It's free, open source. So the very first thing, that it's an open source. Open source means that there is no license required to work on Selenium. It's completely free of cost, right? Whereas if we talk about UFT, QTP, there's a huge license cost for single user, right? If a company is going for concurrent license for 50 users, it may going to cost a huge amount to company. Whereas Selenium provides, I mean, no costing to work on Selenium. It's completely free of cost. Just that Selenium cannot automate desktop application. It can only automate web application. But these days, majorly companies have web applications. There are hardly desktop applications available. So this is one of the major reason why Selenium is very popular, right? The other things about the features of Selenium, yes, it has got a multi-language support. So it supports multiple languages. Languages like Java is there, C Sharp is there, Ruby is there, Python is there, JavaScript is there, PHP is there. So all the major languages that people work on are supported by Selenium as well. So in case you are master of any of these languages, you can easily work on Selenium. And that too, you need not to know the advanced part of these languages. If I talk about Java itself, so I've seen when we are coming from a testing background, we are very afraid of writing code. So in Selenium, it's nothing like that. You need not to learn advanced Java in order to work on Selenium. Only your basic concepts should be clear. Basic concepts like you must have studied in your graduation, like basic if, else, loops, basic oops concept. These are the things that you need to know in order to get started with Selenium, right? And once you get started with Selenium, slowly and steadily, you'll be picking up the Java basics as well easily, right? It's like when we were in college, when we start learning any programming language, we feel it like a little boring. Learning programming is a boring stuff, right? But once you integrate that thing with Selenium and you see that you have written a 2 lines of code and a browser is popping up and all the actions are being performed on that browser, you'll feel it very interesting. And that will actually going to help you in building up your programming base as well. And once you start with Selenium, you're never gonna forget the code that you have written, the logic that you have written. It will help you in building up your logic concepts as well, right? So multi-language support is there. Then we have multi-platform support. So platform, as in client can work on any platform, right? Client can have a MacBook, can have a Linux machine, can have a Windows machine, can have an Android phone, can have a iOS device. So the best thing about Selenium, you can run it on all major operating system you want. You can write your script, you can run it on Windows, on Linux, on Mac, on Solaris, on iOS, on Android. All major platforms are supported by Selenium. Whereas if I talk about competitor of Selenium, that is Qtp, which language Qtp supports? VB script. And which operating system VB script supports? Windows. So it means you can run your QTP code, UFT code only and only on Windows, right? Whereas if we talk about current industry, client can use any operating system and he wants that his product should run fine on all major operating system. It should be tested on all major operating system. So if you're using Selenium, if you're using Java with Selenium, Java is one of the open source language. Although the recent version of Java, there are some license as well available, but the base of Java is completely open source. In case you are using core Java, the core Java part, it's completely open source. You can once you install Java, the very first message you're gonna see that 3 billion devices runs on Java. So be it Linux, Mac, Windows, any operating system you name is supported by Java. And when you're running your Selenium code in Java, you can execute that code in any operating system that you want without paying any license. Not just Java, even if you talk about Python, Python is also an open source language. So Python is the next popular language after Java. So there are many times I've seen people have doubt which should I learn first, whether I should go for Selenium with Java and or I should go for Selenium with Python, because Python is very easy to learn, right? There is less code as compared to Java. So see, if you start yourself in Python first, there are two things. One, if you go to any job portal, naukri.com, indeed.com, monster.com, you'll find 70% of the openings as of today is in Selenium with Java as compared to Selenium with Python. The other thing, if you learn the easy part first and next time you want to migrate yourself to Java, guys, please put yourself on mute. There are some background noise coming. Yeah, thank you. So if you learn Python first, you may gonna find little difficult later on moving on to Java. But if you know Java, you have whole big opportunities in front of you. You can use REST assured, you can use other part, and all the major openings are open for you. And then later on, once you are done with Selenium Java, it may gonna take you just 2 to 3 weeks to learn Python and migrate your code to Python easily. Right? When I started my career, I started with Selenium with Java. And later on, I've added JavaScript, I've added TypeScript, I've added Ruby, I've added Python, I've migrated Selenium to all these languages. Right? So it's like once your base is built up, once you're building up your base with Java, later on you can migrate yourself to any language you want easily. Right? Okay. So Damodar is saying he find Python tough and Java easy. Yeah, it depends. When you start yourself with Java first, you'll find Java easy. You start yourself with Python first, you find Python easy. But yes, Python is like there is less code in Python. If I talk about Java, at times we write 4 lines of code. Same thing can be done in Python in just one single line of code. But your logic concepts, your logic building part will gonna remain same, whether you're working on Java, whether you're working on Python or JavaScript, any language you are using, right? So if you're comfortable in Java, you can easily work on other languages. And the best part is like there are more opportunities in Java as compared to other languages, right? Okay, what else? Apart from multi-language, multi-platform, what else Selenium supports? So let me see, multi-browser, exactly. So Selenium has got a multi-browser support. So we can run our code on Chrome, on Firefox, on IE, on Safari, on Opera, on Edge. All major browsers are supported by Selenium, right? Okay, guys, I can see a couple of people have, I guess, some access to draw stuff, and there is some red line showing up. Yeah, please don't do it in case uh, you have that access with you. All right. Okay, thank you. All right. So yeah. So these are the major features of Selenium. Like it has got a multi-language support, a multi-platform support, a multi-browser support. Apart from this, HTML unit is deprecated. HTML unit, the Phantom library, is deprecated in the latest Selenium version. So we have other browser properties through which we can run our test in a headless mode, right? We're going to talk about that thing as well. Parallel execution through Selenium grid. So grid is like one of the component of Selenium. So how many components are there in Selenium? So if I talk about Selenium components, how many components are there? Okay, let me see the answer. 4. Okay, all 4 answers. ID, RC, WebDriver, grid. Okay, so ID, RC, WebDriver, grid. What is the current version of Selenium? I guess everyone knows, right? 4.0. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the training heading was Selenium 4.0 itself. Okay. Prior to 4, what was the last version of Selenium? Great. I can see many people know. 3.141.59. So it started from Selenium 3.0 and then ended up at 3.141.59. Prior to this, it was Selenium 2, started with Selenium 2 and ended at 2.53.1. And then it was Selenium 1.0 when it was started. So when it was started, the versions, the components were ID, RC, and then grid. No WebDriver at that point of time. And then in 2.0, it was ID, RC, WebDriver, and grid. In 3, it is ID, WebDriver, and grid 3. And now we have IDE, WebDriver, and grid 4. So we don't have any RC, right? Okay, Sachin is saying 3.141.59 is stable, but now we have Selenium 4 officially announced in the market. So Selenium 4 is it's launched on 13th October 2021 itself, and it's one of the most stable version now, which comes with all latest features that we don't see in Selenium 3. Although there were many features that were shipped at 3.8 version onwards. Many features that we see in Selenium 4. If you use the Selenium 3.8 API, you'll find some of those features at the time of Selenium 3 as well. So what is the difference in 1, 2, 3, 4, and what is the difference in these components? What is ID, what is RC, what is WebDriver, what is grid? In some time, it will be very much clear to you once we start discussing the architecture of Selenium and difference in these versions. So it will be very much clear to you, right? Which company came up with Selenium? So when Selenium 1 started, which company came up with Selenium? ThoughtWorks, exactly. Exactly. Not Mercury. It's ThoughtWorks. Right? And anyone knows the developer who started this? Huggins. Huggins is the last name. Jason Huggins. Yes. So Jason Huggins is the one who started this project Selenium. And this project was something like he want to automate his daily routine task. So he has created a small JavaScript library initially, right? That project went up to such an extent they thought of giving it some name, and they came up with a name called as Selenium. Why only Selenium? There's a history behind this as well. He started this project, designing this project in 2004, a long time back, right? 2004, he got this idea where he started the Selenium project. And he kept this project name as Selenium. Why? Because in 2004, the most popular tool at that point of time was, if you know, WinRunner, QTP. These were the popular automation tools at that point of time, right? And if you talk about QTP, which company came up with QTP? Anyone knows which company came up with QTP? Mercury, exactly. Later on, HP acquired it, but initially it was Mercury. Yeah, correct, Rohit. So, Mercury, if we talk about in general terms, what Mercury is basically a poisonous element, right? And selenium is something which is known to be an antidote to mercury. So, if someone has intake mercury, then he may die. But if we provide him selenium, so it works as an antidote so that he may survive. So that is the reason the name of this project was given as Selenium. So to end the market of QTP Mercury, and up to such an extent they are successful as well. Now you'll there was a time when there were so many openings in automation. If you talk about automation, it was like QTP. Everywhere QTP was there. But since the time Selenium came into the market, the stable versions, now you'll hardly find openings in QTP UFT. Majorly market is around Selenium itself. Right? And it's not only because of the cost. There are n number of factors, n number of reasons behind it why Selenium is very popular. One of the thing is that Selenium is not a tool. Selenium is not an automation tool like QTP, UFT, RFT, where you get a setup file, you install it on your machine, it provides you a platform where you can do record and play, scripting, use n number of features of that tool. It's nothing like that with Selenium. You're not able to see Selenium, right? You cannot install Selenium on your machine. It's not a tool. There is no exe file, no software you'll get once you download or configure Selenium. You cannot install it, you can only configure it. And that is what the beauty of Selenium. Because it's not a tool, so there are no limited features. Because if I talk about automation tool like UFT, how many features are there in UFT, QTP, RFT? There could be 100 features, there could be 200 features, there could be 500 features, depending on how big the tool is. But my automation is limited to those 500 features. When we do testing, we do a lot of, we write test cases, we do a lot of permutation and combination. And it doesn't mean that for every permutation and combination, you'll find a feature in that tool which will help you in automating that feature. So at times it happens, if the feature is not there, we cannot automate that particular scenario or a particular test case. And we say that 100% testing is not, 100% automation is not feasible. This is because that automation tool is not supporting that feature. On the other hand, if I talk about Selenium, Selenium is not a tool. There are no boundaries to Selenium. Anything that is feasible in your programming language, like Java, like Python, anything that you can achieve in that language, you can achieve that with Selenium as well. You can integrate that thing with Selenium as well. So there are no boundaries. Anything feasible in Java, you can achieve that thing with Selenium without paying any license. So at times, if a feature is not there, we go to HP, we ask for add-ons. They sell their add-ons to support that feature as well. Again, add-ons are designed by developers. At times, add-ons are there, add-ons are not there. So if an add-on is not there, I cannot automate that feature. But it's not like that in Selenium. We can automate anything. If it is feasible in Java, we can achieve that thing in Selenium. So this is one of the best part which makes Selenium very popular and very robust in nature, right? You can integrate anything you like with Selenium if your programming language is supporting that, right? Okay, so which is the main website of Selenium? Anyone knows which is the main website?
It was HQ, but I don't think it is right now. something dev or something.
Yeah, so initially it was seleniumhq.org, but now it's selenium.dev. Even if you like try to go to that website by typing seleniumhq.org, so if you type seleniumhq.org, it will automatically route you to selenium.dev. So this is the new website, right? Where you're gonna see what exactly Selenium is. Selenium automates browsers. That's it. It's only for web-based testing. Anything and everything available on a web can be easily automated using Selenium. If you go to download, you'll see the latest stable version is 4.0. That is Selenium 4. And these are, if you go down, you'll see that couple of language bindings that support C Sharp, Ruby, Java, Pythons, JavaScript. These are the major languages which are supported, and they have created a very well documentation on Selenium as well. So, what is the overview that we just discussed? That it was started at ThoughtWorks by Jason Huggins. So, you should be able to see all these things in the documentation part as well. What is WebDriver? What is ID? What is Grid? Right, and how to get started with Selenium, what all prerequisites that you need to have. So these are a couple of things which is given in very high level over here, but if you know a bit of Selenium, you should be able to follow this documentation very easily, right? So couple of features that is there recently developed in Selenium 4, you should be able to find all those features over here, understanding the different components, understanding the architecture of Selenium, how Selenium actually works, how it fits in your test framework. So these are the things. There's a very good documentation available that you can follow. But most of the things we are already going to cover in the live sessions. But yeah, this is a good documentation that you should actually go through it at least once while working on Selenium, so that you may gonna come to know about many new things about Selenium and the project that they are doing. And the other most important stuff is since it's an open source industry, after every few days you may gonna see that a new version of Selenium coming into the market. Like initially it was 1.0, then 2.0, 2.0 release went like 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and last one was 2.5, 3.1. Similarly, then 3 started, 3.0, 3.1, 3.1.0, 3.1.14.59 was the last version, right? So what is going on in these releases? This is similar to what you have seen in your development life cycle as well. Whenever a product is introduced, there are versions to the product. So let's say a new calculator is launched by your company. So calculator is launched with a version 1.0. Now there are new features being added in the same calculator. So the version will gonna keep on incrementing, like 1.1, then 1.2, 1.3. All of a sudden there is a technology update. Initially it was developed in C Sharp. Now your company is planning to develop that in Java, right? So whenever there's a technology update, a major addition is going to take place, they will gonna change the version of 1.0 to 2.0. So same thing is happening in the Selenium project as well. But in case you want to see what all things that are being added, or new feature addition, or the bug fixes that's being done in these releases, you should be able to see that from here. If you go to the change logs, you should be able to see what all things that they are doing. See, 4.1 is something that you can see over here, which is about to come very soon, and what all fixes like that you can see over here. Then this is for supported Chrome dev protocols of the latest browsers is added. Then you can see the 4.0 release candidate, the beta version. Prior to that, it was like alpha version. And if you go down and down, you'll see 3.1. So since 2.0 version, they are maintaining this change logs. So anything you want to see, what all new features being added, what all bug fixes being done, you can see from 2.1.0, and they keep on adding all these things over here. So something may gonna go above our head as well, because something might be related to the development part. And if there are new feature addition, you might be able to see what new things that they have added, right? But yes, if you keep a track of these things, you should be familiar with what all changes going on in Selenium project, and what all new features are coming, and then you have to implement those features in your automation project as well. So this is the area where you should actually be looking at while working on Selenium. And then there's a whole big API documentation which we'll be talking about. So what all classes, what all functionality. See, it's a huge library, right? Different classes. This is what your Selenium is, right? Selenium is not a tool, it's not UI. You will see only these list of classes. In order to understand these classes, your basic Java concepts should be very good. Like one of the class that I talk about is called as Chrome driver. So if I search for Chrome driver over here, this is a class Chrome driver. So this class we used to invoke the Chrome browser. So if I create an object of this class, a Chrome browser is going to launch. Now, what are objects? If a person is very new to programming language, you might not able to understand these things right now. What is a class? What are objects? Right? So these are the things that you will come to know once you cover your initial core Java part, which we are going to start from the next week. Like if you go down, you see something called as public, something called as extends. So extends related to inheritance. That is a part of core Java. There is no advanced Java in Selenium, right? So these are your public, private, protracted. These are called as access specifiers or access modifiers, which comes in core Java itself, right? A class comes in core Java, right? Extends, inheritance comes in core Java. This is one of your OOPS concept. So in case your OOPS concepts are clear, you should be easily able to work on Selenium, right? There is no rocket science. We are not going to develop anything. We are not doing development. All the things, all the classes, functionalities are already developed. We just need to call them and automate our website. That is how we will be working on Selenium. And there are a couple of prerequisites to get started with Selenium. The only thing that you need to install on your machine is Java. Java is the very first, because we are starting with Java, so we need to have Java. If we are starting with C# or other languages, then we need to have that language available on our machine, right? So we need to install Java, the most stable version as of today as well, although the latest one is Java 16 or 17, I guess. But I would always recommend to download JDK 1.8, Java Development Kit 1.8. So this is one of the most stable version. I mean, you need not to do anything with the latest Java 16 features, because whatever that you need to do with Selenium, you need to call all the code for Selenium is already supported by 1.8. And many integrations that we are going to do with Selenium, like Maven, like Jenkins, all that supports runs absolutely fine on JDK 1.8. So if you go through many blogs, they're also going to recommend that you should have 1.8 as the most stable version when you're working with Selenium. Later on, you can try with Java 11 as well, or the higher version as well. But initially, to get started, I would recommend that download and configure JDK 1.8. This is the very first prerequisite. Now, how to get this one, how to install it, we'll be doing it in some time. And then you need some editor where you can write the Java code. So that editor is Eclipse IDE, where we'll be writing some code and we'll be calling the Selenium classes, right? So these are the two stuff that you'll be needing, right? So as we said that Selenium is a collection of API. Selenium is not a tool that you can install. So it's basically an API. It's basically called as a framework. So what this API consists of? What do we have inside an API? What is an API? Yeah, Rohit, IntelliJ will also work. Any editor that suppose Java works. So what do we have inside an API? Methods, classes, unboxed calls, piece of code, endpoints. Okay, So I've seen, I mean, like when we talk about API, the very first thing that goes in our mind is like request and response, right? So it's like we all always related with something called as web services. Like we have REST, we have SOAP, right? But APIs are not just web service. Those are also APIs, but API is something like it's a mode of communication between one software to another. If we are talking about Selenium as a collection of APIs, it's something like a complete project which is already developed, and we are going to use that project in our own project in order to automate websites. So API contains a list of classes, interfaces, methods, data members, whatever that is there in a programming language, and a project is built up from that programming language. That is what API is. So if I was showing you one of the documentation over here, this is what the API documentation. See, if I go back to the Selenium website, if I go back over here, and you can see over here what is written over here, API docs. So this is what this Selenium API consists of. So these are the packages, these are the classes, then we have some interfaces. So if I click on this, this is interface. If I click on this, this is a class. If you go down, you'll find a constructor, you'll find methods, right? So all these consist of an API. And these things are already developed. We are not going to develop anything in Selenium. We are just going to call these functions, these methods, and we'll be automating our website. But before that, we should know what exactly is an API and how to consume that. Consume as in how to use that API. If I've been given this API, like this API documentation, how to get started with this. For that, we'll be looking at a very simple example first. And first, we'll be understanding what is an API and how to get started with that API. And again, I'm going to take the same example. Many of you may already have seen that. So it's something like, let's say I am a Java developer and I work with some xyz.com, an organization, where I got a task that I need to design a calculator. Now, in a calculator, there are various operations available. I can add something, I can subtract something, I can divide something, I can multiply something, and so on. So, as a developer, when I have to design all this functionality, what I'll be doing, I'll be creating a class with the name as calculator. Now, I hope everyone understands what a class is. Anyone who is not familiar with what a class, I mean, not like you have practically created, but you must have heard about what a class is somewhere, right? Anyone who have never heard what a class is? I hope everyone must have heard there is something called as a class, something called as an interface, although you may not have worked on who is attending it for the very first time, but still everyone must have heard about what a class is, right? I don't see any no. I guess everyone have okay, I can see yes everywhere. Okay, that's great. That's great. So even see even if you have never worked with classes and objects and methods, don't worry about it. Just take these two sessions as a very lightweight sessions. Just try to understand the concept that what is an API, why it is needed for Selenium, and how we're gonna get started with Selenium. So whatever that we are going to do in these two sessions, this will actually going to tell you what level of programming that is required to work on Selenium. So even if you're not able to understand any coding part, don't worry about it. Because once we start with Java, we'll be starting with the ABC part of it. Right? And slowly and steadily, your base will be built up. But till that time, just try to understand the concept that how Selenium actually works. Don't worry about the code. Right? So as I said, as a Java developer, I have to design a calculator. So I'll be creating a class. I'll be creating a project, a Java project. In that, I'll be creating a class and I'm going to name that class as calculator. Now, what will be inside a class? what a class contains? What do we have inside a class? Anyone? Methods, instance, static variable, methods, variables. Correct. So all these things a class consists of. So if I talk about addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, I'll be creating all these things in a form of a method, or we also call it as a function. In Java, we call them as methods. In C Sharp, Python, we call them as functions. So functions, methods, both are same thing. If I'm talking about it as method, treat it as a function. If I'm saying function, treat it as a method for Java, right? So I'll be creating addition, one function, one method for addition. In this, I'm going to write some code. If you call this addition, what it is going to do, it is going to add some numbers. Then division, then subtraction, then multiplication. One by one, I'll be creating all these functions inside this class, and I'll be writing code in each function to perform that particular operation. If I want to call subtraction, a code is written inside this subtraction that is going to subtract some numbers. Similarly, if I call multiplication, a code is written inside multiplication which will multiply some numbers, right? So same way, I'll be creating other functions, other methods inside this class. And once I'm done with creating all these functions, I want to test whether the addition function, the addition method is working fine or not. So what I will be doing, I'll be calling this method from this calculator class. How to call a method from a class? How to call this addition method from this calculator class? Who will tell me? Anyone?
An object should be created.
Object should be created, right? Okay, object. Okay, that's great. So how to create an object? We'll be saying a syntax something like this: calculator obj equal to new calculator. This is how I'll be creating an object of a class. And now if I want to call the method addition, how to call it? I'll be saying obj dot add, right? Obj dot add. So if I run this code, what it is going to do? This is going to execute the addition method. This is going to call whatever that is written inside the addition method. But in order to call addition, I need to create an object of a calculator class, right? Without creating object, I cannot call the method. So if I talk about this particular highlighted statement, what is an object inside this statement?
Obj.
Obj?
New calculator, sorry.
Is it
Obj is variable. Reference variable.
obj is reference variable? Is it a reference variable or is it the object? Is obj an object or is it a reference variable?
Reference variable. New calculator will create an object.
Okay. How about others? Abhijit is saying it's an object. Diksha is saying it's an object. Hatharth is asking, is this a new batch for Core Java? Yes, Hatharth, this is a new batch. This is a very first session. And the first two sessions are the introductory sessions. And from the next week onwards, we'll be starting with the Java part in this batch. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So a lot of mixed answers. See, I can see a lot of people are saying obj is an object. There are people saying that this is a reference variable. New calculator is an object. So this is this confusion I've seen a lot of time, that like people generally say obj is an object. That is the reason we have written a name as obj. But this could be any name. I can give it any meaningful name. Instead of obj, I could have written calc. Then also you will say that this is an object. This is just a variable. This is a variable. And if it is a variable, what is an object? What is this? What is this? Is it a class?
Return type.
It's a return type.
Type of.
Type. Okay. So this is a type. And what is this? What is equal to? Assignment operator. What is new? Key. And what is this?
Class.
Constructor. Correct. So yeah, see, there are a lot of things in this particular statement as well, right? We have a class, we have a keyword, we have assignment operator, we have an object, we have a reference type, a return type, right? So a lot of things are there. So we'll be understanding all these things practically once we start learning the core Java programming part. But don't worry about it for that time. Till that time, just try to digest it as it is. Right? Whenever I need to call any function from this class, I just need to write this statement. This statement is actually creating an object. Now, what is an object? We'll be understanding it practically. Normally, what happens is previous time people used to write Java code in Notepad, but time have changed. Many editors are there in the market with artificial intelligence. If you're not good in coding, these editors helps us a lot. So some editors are paid, some are open source. IntelliJ is there, NetBeans is there, Eclipse is there. Eclipse is one of the most popular editor, very widely used in the industry. We will be working on Eclipse itself. So Eclipse IDE, it's completely open source, no license required to work on Eclipse. The only prerequisite to get started with Eclipse is that you need to have Java installed on your machine. For everything, Java is a prerequisite. So first we'll be getting Java, then we'll be getting Selenium, and then you need Selenium. That's it. First Java, then Eclipse, and then Selenium. That's it. These are the only things which are required to automate any website in the world. And there is no license required for it. Right? So how to get Java? We're gonna get started from here. So Java, just Google around, go to Google, say download JDK 1.8. Why automation engineers do not use Android Studio much? See, Anirudh, Android Studio is a platform where you can design Android applications as well. And yes, it supports Java. So you can execute your Java code from Android Studio as well. If someone is an Android developer, he is not going to use Eclipse in order to execute like the Java code. He can use Android Studio as well. But in case we are starting directly from the basics, there is no purpose to install the 1 GB Android Studio that comes with a lot of other features which is specifically required for Android development, Android apps development, or the automation. So that is the reason like why Android Studio is not very much used as an IDE. Although once we start with APM, we will be installing Android Studio as well. But again, for the coding part, we'll be using Eclipse IDE, because all the other integrations that we may need to use, like Maven, like Git, like other things, works in a very simple way with these IDs, with Eclipse and with other IDs, as compared to Android Studio, right? So, okay, we'll go to this particular link for JDK 1.8, and from here, now what you need to do when you see all these things over here, like Linux, other platforms, like in case you have a Linux machine or a Mac machine, then you can download these files. For Mac, we have a DMG file. For Linux, we have other multiple files available based on if it is your operating system is 86 or 64-bit. So based on that, you need to download this and install it. For Windows, we have 64 and 32-bit. So 32 is for 86 and 64 is the 64-bit operating system. So I have the 64. I'll be downloading this exe. But now when you click on this exe file, it will automatically not gonna get downloaded. It may gonna ask you to create an Oracle account, which is again a free account. See, when I'm clicking on it, it may see it is taking me to the sign up page. So just create a free account of yours and you're gonna get this exe file downloading. It's a simple software that gets downloaded. I guess I have kept it in my software, so not. No, it's not there on my machine. I have deleted it. So you're gonna get a exe file, something like this. Just double click on it, next, and Java gets installed on your machine. Installation process is very simple. Once you once the Java is installed, you'll find it inside C drive, program files, and you'll see a folder of Java over here. If you open this, you're gonna see two major folders. One is JRE and one is JDK. Don't worry about this, the two JDKs over here. This is because I was trying to configure some other version as well, and accidentally I got two versions installed, but then I've deleted it and this folder is not yet removed from here. So don't worry about the second one. You're gonna see JRE and JDK once you install Java. JRE stand for Java Runtime Environment. JDK is Java Development Kit. What is JDK? What is JRE? Again, don't worry about it. Once you go to the Java training, it will be explained from the scratch that what is the purpose of JRE and what is the purpose of JDK. For the time being, what you need to do, JDK, if you open JDK, you'll find a bin folder. Inside bin, you'll find your Java over here. So what we need to do, we need to configure Java globally on our machine, because there are many projects, there are many utilities that we are going to use which need the access of Java. Without Java, they cannot run. Like if I talk about Jenkins, if I talk about Maven, if I talk about Eclipse, these are the things will not gonna run on your machine till the time it finds Java on your machine. And in order to do that, what we will be doing, we'll be configuring Java globally on our machine in some global system environment variables, which is something called as setting up of environment variables. So first we need to set up the environment variables for Java. For that, what we need to do, we need to go to the root location of Java, the JDK folder. Copy this path. In your start, there's a shortcut, just type edit. And you'll find this edit system environment variables. Click on this and you'll see system properties over here. Over here, click on environment variables. Make sure when you're doing these changes, you should have admin access on your machine. Otherwise, you'll not be able to do all this setup, right? So if you have your official laptop, you may need to get that admin permission from your organization. Otherwise, you can try doing these settings on your machine. Guys, please don't write. I am not sure like how this Zoom is functioning for these like drawings from your end. So, but in case you're doing it, I would request you to just clear off this, right? I know someone might have accidentally done it, so just try to delete it from your end. Or let me see if this can be removed from my end as well. So if I click on clear, yep, all right, that's gone. Okay, so I was talking about setting up of environment variables. What you need to do is you see this system variables over here. Normally, this is where people initially do some mistake. They do all these configuration in the user variable. You need not to do anything in the user variable. In the system variable, you need to click on new and give it a variable name. Could be any name, but the standard says Java underscore home. Everywhere you'll find it like Java underscore home. This is just a variable. This is going to hold the path of your JDK folder. So if you click OK, you're gonna see Java home created over here and it holds the path of your JDK folder. Now go down, you'll find a path variable over here. So this is your global system properties. If you click on edit, you'll see most of the things are already configured over here. Even your system 32. So when you're installing your operating system, most of the setting goes over here. At times when you're installing some programs, they add their configuration automatically to this global path variable. These are your crucial settings. You should not edit or delete any existing settings. You just need to click on new and type %Java underscore home %. So when you type this, this will actually gonna bring the path of Java home folder over here. That is the JDK folder over here. And where is Java? Java is inside this bin folder. So what we need to do, we just need to give a \bin over here. That's it. Like I've already done it over here. So I'm not going to redo. I'm just going to delete this. Once you are done with this, click on OK, and your Java is successfully configured. Now go to command prompt and type Java hyphen version. You should be able to see the current version of Java on your machine. Like on my machine, it's 1.8, right? So once you get this message, now the time is to download the editor, that is Eclipse. So we will be going again to the Google and will be typing over here download Eclipse. So latest version of the Eclipse should work fine. At times it may happen that you may gonna see that Eclipse very latest version is not supporting Java 8. It may ask you to upgrade the Java version. So what version that I'm using is 2001 2021 06, just one version prior to the current version. So if you click on this, you'll see a lot of packages over here. So Eclipse is just an editor. It supports multiple languages. You can use Java, you can use C++, you can use Python, PHP. Multiple languages are supported by Eclipse. We need Eclipse for a very basic core Java component. So we'll be downloading this Eclipse IDE for enterprise Java and web developers. This component is the most stable one and best fit for our requirement. Click on download. Guys, please put yourself on mute. Vaibhavi, there's a background noise from your end. Please put yourself on mute. Thanks. So once you click on download from here, you're gonna get zip file. Zip file something like I've removed that zip, but yes, you're gonna get a zip file. You just unzip it. You're gonna get a Eclipse folder like this, Eclipse 2021-06. If you open this, you'll see Eclipse folder. There is nothing installable in Eclipse. You get this application, double click on it, and it is going to launch your Eclipse. So the very first thing, it will ask you for a workspace. Workspace is basically a location where you'll be maintaining your project code. Any code that we're gonna write will be stored at some location. That is what is called as a workspace. So I'll be naming this batch as Selenium batch November 2021. And any code that we are going to write will be stored at this location. And at the end of the each session, I'll be forwarding you the code along with the video. We'll be uploading it to the portal itself, the code as well as the video. So you can directly download the code and use it in your workspace. So this is the area that you're going to see. This is where you'll be creating your project, adding classes, interfaces. Here you'll be writing some code, and here you're going to get the output of that code. Now, what we are trying to understand is what is an API. We started designing a calculator class in Notepad. Now we'll be doing the same stuff in Eclipse. So let's see how to do it. First, I'm going to click on create a project, and I'll be selecting a simple Java project from here. Click on next. Give any project name. So I'm going to name it as, let's say, Kelsey project. Any name you can give to this project. Click on finish. Don't need this right now. Click on open. And you can see calculator project created. If you open this, you'll find two things over here. One is your JRE system library. One is your SRC folder. So SRC folder is where you'll be writing all the code, creating classes. And there are some internal Java classes which are mapped to your project. So normally what happens is when you used to write code in C, C++, you need to include some header statement. Like include conio.h, include studio.h. Similarly, in case of Java, when we used to write it in Notepad, we need to add all the header statements like the import statements manually. Like import java.util.star, import java.math.random, and number of other libraries. We need to add them manually. But now we need not to worry about these things. All the internal classes will be automatically added, will be automatically imported with the help of your Eclipse editor. And these mappings are done with the help of these libraries that you see over here. So all these things are already added, integrated to our project. We just need to focus on creating our own classes. That's it. So what I'll do, I'll just right click over here, say new, click on class, and it is showing me a template to provide a class name. Class name always starts from a capital letter. So if I'm creating a calculator class, I'll be saying capital C, calculator. And I'm going to check this public static void main. Then I'll be clicking on finish. And you'll see a sample code over here. Let me increase the font size. Okay, now it's better. Now see, you can see a lot of things over here. There's something called as public, class, some in reddish color, some in black color. These are comments. I can get rid of this. This whole thing is a class. And this is a method, a function inside this class. By default method. Anything that you need to execute in Java must be present inside this function body. This is the body of this function, the method of the body of this method. Anything you want to execute should be present inside this. Like if I talk about how we print, how do we print in C? Anyone know how to print in C? What do we use in order to print in C? C language? Printf. Exactly. And C++? Cout, correct. Java?
System.out. Java and the class name.
System.out.println, exactly. So how we do it? We write it like this. System out println. Just give me a moment. There's a shortcut for it. So you type syso control space enter. See, syso control space enter. So system.out.println, and anything you want to print, you write it in double quotes and say the very first thing to print in any programming language is the hello world, right? This is the run button. If I click on this, you're going to see hello world is printed. But at the moment, we are not here to print hello world. We are here to understand what an API is, and for that, we are designing a calculator. In a calculator, there are various methods available. I'll be designing those methods over here one by one. So first I design a method called as add. Method name always starts from a small letter. So as I said, class name starts from a capital letter. Method name starts from a small letter. This is an industry standard. It's not like if I write a method name with a capital letter, it is going to give me any error, right? It is not throwing any error. But this is a standard. Everyone follows the same standard. This is something called as camel casing. Now what camel casing is, if I have a class name, let's say there is a word which is formed up with three words, something called as the dark night. Now there are three words over here. If I write it all together like this, this is not very readable. Now to make it readable, if it is a class name, I'm going to start it with a capital letter. Anything joining must be in caps. So I'm going to say the dark night like this. Now this is more readable. Now if it is a method name, I'll start it with a small letter. Any joining will be in caps. So you can see the dark night. Now this is more readable. So this one is a class. This is a method. Same approach is followed by all the Java developers around the world. In case next time you're going to read the code of any developer, you should be able to understand, okay, this is a class and this is a method, right? So now in this addition method, we are going to write some code which is going to add some numbers, but we don't know coding. So what we can do is we're simply going to print something, that is adding some numbers. So when you call this addition method, it is not going to add some numbers, it is just going to print adding some numbers. Same way I'm going to create couple more functions over here, couple more methods, name it as addition, then the second one is subtraction, sorry about it, then the third one is division, and then the fourth one is multiplication. So one by one I'm going to create all these methods, and inside this I'm going to write for subtracting some numbers, for dividing some numbers, and then multiplying some numbers, right? So one by one, I have completed the entire project. Now I want to call this addition method. I want to check whether it is working fine or not. So what I'll do, I'll go inside my main method because execution starts from here. So what I'll be writing, like we have already seen how to call a method by doing it something like this. So if I copy this stuff and if I paste it over here, see, it is working absolutely fine, right? There are no errors. Errors in the sense, instead of calculator, if I write it as calculators, you can see it is highlighted in red color. Why? Because if you mouse over, Eclipse will give you suggestions. It says that it cannot be resolved to a type. See, this thing is called as a type, right? This thing is called as a type. The initial one, when we highlight it, this is called as a type. So Eclipse is not able to understand what this is. It is asking us to either create a class calculators, but why should we create a class calculators? Next suggestion is change it to calculator. So click on it, it changed to calculator, right? And now if I say calc dot, there could be 100 methods inside this class. I cannot remember all the methods. I simply put dot, it shows me list of all the methods. One of the method is addition, division, multiplication, subtraction. So if I call the method addition, save it and run this, you're going to see adding some numbers is called, right? Same way I can call other methods one by one. Divide, subtract, multiply. Save this and run this. And you can see the complete functionality is executed. So in order to call these functions, these methods, what I need to do, I just need to create an object by using this statement and then call the methods one by one. That's it. Now, if I talk about one more function which has got a similar name as of the class name, what we call it as? What is a method called which has got a same name as of the class name? What do you call it as?
Constructor.
Constructor. What are constructors?
To initialize an object.
To initialize an object. What else?
We don't need an object to call any method inside constructor.
We don't need an object to call constructor?
To call a method of the class.
To call a method of a class. Okay. How about others? What is a constructor?
Constructor has to create object.
Constructor has to create object. Initialize
and,
instance variable. Okay.
And it's the same name as the class name.
Okay. See, constructor is like a method only. Like I'm saying, it's like a method. So I can write some code over here as well. I can write a code, something that says calling constructor. Right? It has the same name as of the class name, and this is the very first thing that is called as soon as you create an object of a class. You need not to explicitly call a constructor. Like if I'm calling a method, I'm saying calc.add, calc.divide, calc.subtract, calc.multiply. Now I want to call calculator. So if I say calc.calculator, see, I'm not getting it. Because it's not a function, it's not a method. I cannot call it explicitly. As soon as you create an object, even if you don't call these methods, as soon as you create an object, constructor will be automatically called. So as I'm saying, I'm creating object over here. So if I run it, the very first thing that will automatically be called is a constructor. Right? I'm not explicitly calling it. It gets called automatically. Now we were discussing about what is an object in this statement. Many people says calc is an object. Many people says new calculator is an object. Let's treat calc as an object. I'm going to remove this. This is still a valid statement. There are no errors. Now, if this is an object, if I run this, constructor will be called, right? Because if it is an object, constructor should be called. As soon as an object is created, constructor should be automatically called. So if I run this, tell me whether the constructor is going to be called or not. Whether the constructor will be called or not.
Default constructor should be called.
Default constructor. Is this a default constructor?
Yeah. Yes, I guess.
So it means if I run it, it should print calling constructor, right? Come on guys, tell me whether the constructor be called or not. Correct, it won't be called. See, if I run this, it's not a constructor, right? It's not an object. So when I run it, nothing is being called. So it means it is not an object. Now what I'll do, I'll remove this. I'll remove this, save this. And now if I run this, tell me whether the constructor be called or not. See, a lot of yes this time. Right? If I run this, you can see the object, the constructor is called. So this is where the object is created. Right? So if this is an object, then what is the need for calc? Why do we need this? Why do we need this highlighted one? Highlighted portion, why we need it? This is creating an object, right? Why we need this? What is the requirement for this? I can get rid of this. If this is an object, why we need calc?
To access the reference methods or something.
To access the methods means in case I want to call addition, division, I'll be saying calc.add or calc.subtract, right? Without calc, I cannot call addition. That's true? Is that true? Without calc, can I call addition? Can I call subtraction? No, see, all knows. Right? I can call addition without calc as well. How? By just putting a dot. See, new calculator dot add. If I run this, it's going to execute adding some numbers. See, unless it is static. No, there is no need of static, non-static over here. I can still call it with the help of this object, right? Without using calc. Sorry?
Is it just created to, address a memory location, is it?
Yeah, I mean, see, we are calling a method, and for that we need an object. An object, we already have this object. But what if I want to call another method? Now I want to call subtraction. How to call it?
Yeah, you have to create again. Yeah, correct.
Again, I need to create another object, right? So again, I'll say new calculator dot subtract, new calculator dot divide, new calculator dot multiply. So it means if I have 100 methods, I need to create 100 objects. See, if I run this, you'll see that calling constructor is called 4 times, because whenever an object is created, a constructor is called. It means 4 objects are created in a memory to call 4 methods. If there are 100 methods, I'll be creating 100 objects. So I'll be wasting all the memory. That is what I don't want. I want only one object to be created, and all the methods should be referred from the same memory reference, from the same object reference. So what I'll do, wherever the object is created, I'll be storing the address of that object in some variable. Right? Whenever we have to store something, we create a variable. Variable could be any name, ABCD equal to, or we give it a meaningful name, CALC equal to. See, variable can hold any value. Like if I want to store 100, I'll be storing it like value equal to 100. And every variable in Java must have some type. So what will be the type of this variable? Integer as an int, right? Can I write string over here instead of int? I can't. It is going to give me an error, right? See, Eclipse is saying type mismatch, cannot convert from int to string. If you, in case you want to write it in a string, you need to put it in double quotes. Means if I write hello over here, can I change this string to int now? I cannot. It means whatever value is there, the type will be according to that. Right? If it is a numeric value, it should be int. If it is a string value, it should be string. Now, if I talk about string, what is string in Java? What is string? Non-primitive data type. It's a data type, right? Anything else that we call string as? Class? Correct. See, if you do a mouse over on string, string will tell you what exactly string is. The string class. String is an internal class in Java, right? If this is a class, then what is value? It's a reference variable. So if you do reference variable dot, should be able to see the methods of the string class. See, after each method, you'll find string written over here. And this is the same thing. When we are storing this value, we cannot store it inside string. We cannot store it inside string int. It has to be of the same class type. If we are storing string values, it has to be string class. If we are storing numeric values, it has to be int type. Same way, if we are storing this object, it has to be of the same class type. So this thing is called as a type. This is your variable, a reference variable. This is assignment operator. We are assigning this value, right, to this variable. This is an assignment. This is a new keyword. And this thing is your constructor. As soon as we execute this, you can see the constructor is being called. So this is the constructor. And now if you say calc.add, calc.divide, calc.multiply, calc.subtract, and if you run this code, you'll see that only one constructor is called and all the methods are referred from the same object reference. Right? So this is how the constructor is being called and all the methods are being referred, and only one object is created, not 4 objects are created, right? So this is a very basic, although we'll be learning about these basic concepts in the Java part as well. So, but before that, I mean, in case you are facing any difficulty in understanding these concepts, don't worry about it. But I have to write at least this much code in order to make you understand what exactly Selenium and why we are actually writing it, right? Just try to understand the concept. Don't try to learn the code at this moment. Don't worry about what is new, what is a constructor, why we are writing, why we are doing all these things, because these things will be covered in your Java, and these things are the base of Selenium, right? Classes, objects, you will be playing around these things a lot while you start with Selenium. So now let's say the calculator project is completed. Now I want to publish this project in the market, right? I've created all the functionalities. I've created addition, I've created division, multiplication, and let's assume I've written some 500 lines of code inside this addition method with a very complex logic. Now I want that if next time someone wants to do addition, division, subtraction, he should not be rewriting this code. He can easily access my code and I'll not be charging to him. I'll be making it as an open source project, free of cost, no license required. If in case you want to do addition, division, you can take my project. So I want to publish this project as an open source project in the market. Open source not only means that it's a free of cost project, it means that anyone can contribute into the development of this project as well. If next time any developer comes in, he likes my project and he want to add some of his own functionality for calculating percentage, square root, then he is most welcome. He can add that functionality, and if someone wants to use that functionality, he can use it free of cost. So how to publish this project in the market? For that, what I'll be doing, I'll just gonna right click on this project, go to export, go to journal, and not to journal, go to Java, click on jar file. So I'll be exporting this project in a form of a jar file. Click on next, give any name to this jar. I'll name it as calculator.jar. jar. So I'll just gonna copy this and I'll be storing it somewhere on the desktop. Calculator.jar, save, finish, and you're gonna see a jar file generated. Now it's nothing like if I'm going to double click on it, it is going to install calculator on my machine. It is not going to do any installation. You cannot double click and install it. It's not a software that gets installed on your machine. With the help of this jar file, you're only going to come to know how many classes are there, how many methods, functionality inside this project. Even if a developer has not shared you the code, you'll not be able to see what all coding is done. But you'll be able to access the methods which are there inside this jar file. Now what I did, I uploaded this jar file to my website. Why? Because website can be accessed from any part of the world. Right. Next time, if someone wants to do addition, division, he can go to my website, download this jar file and can access the functionality without paying any license. Right. So what I did after I created this project, I have left this organization. So I'm going to close this project now. So let me close it. I am going to close this project. And now I joined another company. Let's say American Express. A banking domain I joined. So they also have their project built up in Java. So I'm going to create a new project, MX project, right? Click on finish. And this is a project created. They already have their classes built up. I joined in between of this project. So they have their class already with them with the name as banking, right? Let's add a main method over here as well. And they already have some methods functionality available for calculating profit, for calculating loss. So all these functionalities were already there. And I was hired in between of this project. They asked me to implement a functionality that could add salaries for a number of employees. So something related to, I need to design an addition method over here as well. And if I talk about the logic of this method, this is similar to what I've created in my calculator project. Same logic, but that addition method contains 500 lines of code. I can do it over here, but it is going to take a lot of time to write all that logic over here. So there are two ways. Either write the entire logic, but why to write it when it is already available in one of the open source project? So what I did, I've gone to that website, downloaded that calculator project from their website and added that project in a form of a jar file. Go to build path, add external archives and add this jar file in your project. So it got added as a reference library C. If you expand this, you're gonna find calculator class and see all the methods are showing which I've created in that company, in that organization. But I'm not able to see what is the code written in addition. And I don't bothered about it. I can access the addition functionality. I want to access this functionality in this project. How will we access it? By creating an object of calculator, calc equal to new calculator. See, I'm able to create an object. I'm not getting any error. Eclipse is able to understand what this calculator is. How? With the help of this jar file. If the jar file is not there, because jar file comes from a third party project, right? If I remove this, how will Eclipse come to know what is calculator? It is coming from a different project. So we need to integrate that project with the help of this jar file, which we have downloaded from that company's project. And now I can go inside addition and I can easily access calc.add. See, let's change this name to add salary. And now if I want to call this add salary from the banking class, how will I call it? From this banking, we need to call add salary. I'll be creating an object of banking because whenever we need to call any method, we need to create an object of this class. So if I say b dot, I can call add salary. And if I run this, the complete functionality is executed without rewriting the entire code that was written inside the addition method. with the help of this jar file. So if I talk about this jar file, this is what an API is. This is an API to American Express project. And if we are talking about Selenium, Selenium is one of the same thing. Selenium is available in a form of a single jar file or multiple collection of jar files. If you want to use Selenium in this project, you can use that thing as well. Just what you need to do, right click over here, wherever I have downloaded the Selenium jar file, I'll go to that project. Let's say I go over here, jars, and I add one single jar. That's it. Now I can call Selenium classes and I can automate any website in the world. Only this much configuration is required. One is your JDK, one is your Eclipse, another one is your Selenium. And now you can call any class from Selenium. So instead of this banking, I'm going to call the class that is called as Chrome driver. CHROME. Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. Import this. Just one more step additional. I'll be doing it right now, but don't worry about that step. What I'll be doing is from where I have added this jar file, I'll be copying this some file called as Chrome driver. What is this? I'll be explaining you soon about this file. I know some people knows about it, but don't worry about this file. Forget about what I've added over here. Just look over here. I've created an object of Chrome driver class. That's it. Now if I save this and if I run this, what will happen? See. Okay, we got some issues because the Chrome driver file that I've added is not supporting the latest version of the browser that we are using. So I need to kill it from here. Chrome driver. Where is Chrome driver? Let me do end task. And then I'll be downloading and adding this one. I'll go to downloads. I'll be adding this one. I'll remove this. Build path, delete, and I'll add this one. So what this Chrome driver, why we need it, I'll be explaining it soon. But let's see, I've just written this line of code. Chrome driver equal to new Chrome driver. And as soon as I run it, what it is going to do, it is going to launch a browser. See, the browser is launched. Just by writing one single line of code, I was able to launch the browser. Where the code is written for launching the browser? Where the code is written? Come on guys, tell me where the code is written.
It is a package header.
In the package?
Yeah. In the Chrome driver class.
Chrome driver class, right? This code is present inside this jar file, which we have added. And inside this jar file, what we have in jar file, we have classes, right? Like in calculator jar, we have a calculator class. So Chrome driver class is coming from this Selenium jar file that we have added, right? And where inside this class the code is written to launch this browser? Where it is written? Come on guys, where the code is written? Some developer might have created this class, right? Chrome driver class, and he must have written some, let's say 100 lines of code to launch a browser. But where that 100 lines of code is written? Where inside that class that code is written? Jar file? No. Inside jar file we have class. Inside class the code is written. So where inside this class the code is written? Any method? Any function? Have we called any function? Have we called any method? We have not called any method. We have not called any method so far. What we did, we created an object. When we create an object, the very first thing that is called is a constructor. So the code is written inside the constructor itself. Even if I don't write this, just new Chrome driver, when you run it, the very first thing, the constructor is called, the code is written inside the constructor to launch the browser. Now if you want to do navigation and do other stuff, then you need this reference driver, and then you're gonna do driver dot. You get list of methods inside this class, and you'll be calling the methods one by one. See, get driver dot get, it accepts string URL. String means double quotes, and you'll give the URL http waytoautomation.com. Save this, run this, and you're gonna see again the browser is going to launch, and this time it's navigating to waytoautomation.com. Right? So this is how you'll be working on Selenium. The only thing you need is Java, Eclipse, and one single jar file. And now you can call the methods one by one, and you can automate any website in the world. Now we're going to see the latest upgrade to Selenium 4, because the jar file that I've added is 3.141.59, but we'll be working on latest Selenium 4. So we'll not be using this jar file. We're gonna go over here, right click on this, go to build path and remove it. And now we'll see errors over here. So where to get Selenium 4 jars? If you go, so just 5-minute session is left. I know we are running out of time. It's already 10 IST, but just 5 more minutes and we are done. So if you go to selenium.dev, download, and if you download this, so it is going to give you Selenium server 4.0.jar. So this is added in the downloads. If you right click and go to build path, add external archives, go to download and add this Selenium server. You can see the errors are fixed. If you click on run, see, this is the only jar file that you would need. Just one single jar. Right? Not just this, there are other jars as well. In case you don't want this Selenium server, there are other n number of jar files. You can download it from here as well. So if you go down, you'll find this stable version. Click on this. This will also give you collection of jars. So see, this is coming in a zip file. Once you unzip it, you're gonna see it like this. Once you unzip, you get Selenium 4 like this. Selenium Java 4. These are all jars that you need to include, including the library folder. So many jars. Either add one single jar or add all these jars. So if I remove these jars, if I remove it, I'll say right click. It's getting stuck. Just give me a moment. Go to build path, remove, and okay, I've removed calculator. Just give me a moment. Let me remove this one. Build path, remove, and then I need to add all those jars that we have downloaded, which is over here. So we need to add all these jars. Open, and then we need to go to build path, add external archives, and we need to add all these jars. And let me comment out the calculator part because I accidentally removed it, so that we should not get any errors. Right? And now if I run this, you're again gonna see same thing. The browser is going to launch and it's going to navigate to waytoautomation.com. Right? So that's how you'll be adding Selenium jars. Either you need to add collection of jar files, or just you can add one Selenium server jar file. Both are the same, both contains your Selenium library. The Selenium server jar is also required to work on grid, Selenium grid. Now what grid is, what IDs, what RCs, what WebDriver, we are running out of time for today. We'll be covering that part in our tomorrow's session. So in today's session, we have seen how to get started with Selenium. That Selenium is not a tool. It's just collection of classes. There could be 100 lines of code written to launch a browser, but we are not worried about that code because we are not developing Selenium. We just need to call one method get. That's it. And for that, we need to create an object of a class. And this is how we create an object of a class. How we create an object in basic core Java. The same process we do it over here. And then we have list of methods. We just need to call them one by one. What is written inside this method, we are least bothered about it. Because we are not developing Selenium. We are just using it as for automation. And for that, all the methods are already developed. We just need to call them one by one and perform click, perform type, and automate our entire manual test cases, right? Without creating any new functionality. That is how we'll be working on Selenium. And in order to understand these things, we have seen there is something called as a constructor, there is something called as a type, data type, return type, assignment operator, keywords. So these things are coming from basic core Java. So once you know basic core Java, you should be able to understand this code very easily. This is a very easy code, right? So as a tester, we should not be afraid of writing code. So once you start doing these things with your own hand, you'll be very much comfortable in doing it, right? So that's all for the today's session. We have so many topics to cover, and we are already done with around 2 hours of a session. So I hope you guys have enjoyed the session. You might not have got bored just because of the programming part. So tomorrow we'll be looking at more at the architecture part, and we'll be understanding the basic difference of what is ID, what is RC, WebDriver, grid, and we're gonna see some more integrations as well, right? Where this recording will be available, I'll be hosting this recording very soon to the portal. So I'll be sharing these recordings to your email ID. I have all your email IDs, so I'll be forwarding it to you very soon once it is uploaded, right? So that's about it, guys, for today. I hope you guys have enjoyed the session. Sure. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, guys. All right. Gaurav, I can see you just pasted some error that you're getting. Chrome driver cannot be resolved to a type. Just see if the class is imported. You need to import this class. Try adding the single jar file. If that is not working, try adding all the other jars and see if you are able to import this class or not.
Import which class?
This Chrome driver. So normally for today's session, it was just like a demo. So I did it like automatically. So you can see there's an import statement added over here. So this is not automatically added. What I did, when you do a mouse over here, you get import, you click on this and this gets added.
Correct. I have done that. I don't know why it's still not.
Just check your Java version as well. If you are using JDK 1.8, right? Because I'm using
1.8. It's just that the Selenium version, I downloaded the 4.0 server, Selenium server 4.0 jar.
Okay, just remove that 4.0 jar and add the other jars.
I tried.
Yeah, try that one. We have more process as well. Will not be in future. Like in tomorrow's session, I'm gonna show you that will not be manually adding these jars. It will gonna get added automatically. We need not to worry about. We're gonna automate this process as well for getting the jars, right? So there are many things. I mean, we just started. So in tomorrow's session, you're gonna see some of these interesting things that we're gonna discuss, right? Yeah, Mega, I'll be giving so many assignments once we proceed with the course. So you're gonna get a lot of websites for automation.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Perfect.
Sure. Sunita, your console is not printing calling constructor. You can forward me the code. See, guys, any point of time, in case you're facing any issues, this is my mail ID, trainer@way2automation.com. Just forward me that piece of code and the exception that you're facing to my mail ID. And once we form up a WhatsApp group for this batch, you can post it in that WhatsApp group as well. Right? And I'll assess you accordingly.
Is it mandatory to have 1.8 only? I have 11. Can I work with that?
Yes, that's fine. Anything that supports Java, you can like any version that supports Selenium, you can use that. Java 11 is good. That's fine. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for joining in, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have you covered Selenium 3? See, Selenium 3 4 both are same, just that there are additional features added in 4. But whatever code that if you have done in Selenium 3 will gonna work as it is in Selenium 4. So we'll talk about these things as well. Sure, Prasad. You can ask the questions. That's fine.
Yeah, one question is this whole programming with the OOPS concepts with Java and Selenium is like really overwhelming with a lot of things that need to be developed and everything. So I was thinking like when you initially started, or maybe what is that you recommend that we don't get overwhelmed with a lot of this in terms of the learning stuff.
Okay.
Is there any recommendation?
So one of the thing is that it is not going to be done over the night, right? Selenium is nothing like we can learn entire Selenium in like just 2 days or within a week. This is something like which gonna come slowly and steadily, right? So we'll be having an incremental development sort of thing. So first we're gonna build up our basics. We'll start with configuring Java, learning basic data types, if else loops, doing assignments on that. Slowly and steadily, your Java part will gonna finish. You'll have a good confidence over the Java concepts. Then once you come to Selenium, you'll start with basic automation. This is how the incremental development will gonna work. And by the time you're done with the course, you complete all the assignments. You'll feel very confident, yes, that you are able to automate a particular page or a particular website on your own as well, right? So that is what help you in your learning process as well, and as well in building up your base for the programming part as well as for the automation part. And then the roadmap is quite huge. So I mean, if in case you are in automation, even for 4 years, like you keep on learning new things. So like I'm having 14 years of experience, I'm still like struggling in learning new automation tools, new automation technology, right? Every day I have a new learning, new classes. So these are the things which are never ending process. But yes, to get started, that is what I said. Selenium is something which will actually build up your base for automation. Once your base is built up, you should be able to follow the path easily.
And my second question is, I know that there was, you mentioned like there was another class started like in about 7 weeks ago for the same course, right? And they are going with the WebDriver concepts right now.
Yeah, they will be starting with WebDriver from next weekend. So for that, the Java part is already done. But if you already familiar with Java, then you can join that one. Otherwise, you should first cover Java, then come to Selenium.
Yeah, I covered through a lot of your, courses, all the way up to polymorphism that you were actually videoed.
Okay.
So those things are complete. I know basic understanding of like a little bit of coding with Java and everything, but not an expert by any means. Do you think it would be beneficial if I start that classes beginning next week at 10 o'clock?
See, if you know a decent amount of Java, then I can recommend that rest of the lectures for Java you can even follow it from the video lecture during the weekdays, and weekend you can start with the Selenium part. But yes, if you are not in hurry, if you have a lot of time, then cover the Java as much as you can, and then come to
I
Selenium.
need to actually attend both of them.
Yeah.
So that way you have a Java programming and at the same time, like, also catch up with the
Yeah.
what is at the WebDriver level.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. And is that a separate Zoom link for that one, or is the same link?
No, for that a separate Zoom link will be provided. For core Java, the Zoom link has to be created, and that will be shared by next week itself. And similar, I mean, the first two sessions are like for most of the students, it's a demo session as well. So I'll be generating a new Zoom link for the Selenium part as well, for the WebDriver part, and I'll be sharing that in a group. Next week, you're gonna get both the links.
Okay, great. Yeah, if I get both of them.
Yeah.
Is both of them.
Yeah.
Okay, obvious. Thank you.
Sure. Rohit, assignment for today is just to get yourself started with WebDriver. Whatever that we did today, just do all the configuration part and see if you're able to launch the browser. That's what the assignment for today. All right. So thanks a lot, guys. Thanks a lot for joining in, and thanks a lot for your patience. We'll meet tomorrow, and the same link is going to work for tomorrow's session as well. So thanks everyone for joining in.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Maya. Thank you so much, Meghna.
Thank you, Rahul.
Sure.